Time for another Patreon episode. This one is on a part 2 of a film series. It's on It Chapter 2. I remember this was in the middle of COVID, and we were still working out our sound issues. We were still remote at this point. We had nothing to do, so we were just watching anything we could and doing episodes on it. And we were putting out tons and tons of stuff. And It Chapter 2 popped up from this fan of Stephen King's work, and he was all in on part 1, and then we got to part 2, and we're like, why is this not so good? So we went back through and we tried to fix it chapter 2, and I've tried to read the book. I've repeatedly tried. I think I make it like 100 pages and I kind of give up because it's like 1,100 pages. It's huge. I just can't take it. I like most of Stephen King's stuff. I love The Dark Tower, but a lot of his stuff, it kind of gets a little head up its own ass, and this is definitely an example of head up its own ass. Stephen King even makes a cameo in chapter 2. The biggest problem with the chapter 2 is that it's just not scary. It's very not scary. It comes off a little bit cartoony and silly. A lot of that stuff works well in prose, not so well in visual form. A lot of changes should have been made to adapt this to the screen. We all remember the TV series from the 1990s starring Tim Curry, but I think if it wasn't for Tim Curry, that thing would have been forgotten about. So it's really not that good. This was an interesting one, and I apologize for some sound issues. Like we said, we were still figuring out streaming. I screwed up my sound. It wasn't running through my microphone. I apologize. But overall, the episode is still worth listening to. It's still a fun episode, and we had a good time on this. So here's the Patreon extended cut of our film rescue for It Chapter 2. Enjoy.
Not a problem. And I think welcome to the Film Rescue Show. We're lending a helping hand to Hollywood, fixing their flaws and faux pas in their feature films. I'm your Pitchmaster General Seth. I'm joined by Devin, who hasn't been on in a while, and then is suddenly in like the next 3 episodes.
Yeah, I can't imagine why that would be.
We also have Jesse on the line with us.
Hello again.
Our resident reader. I think of us, you and Devin are the big book nerds.
Yeah, although I've read like 100 pages of this book, and I just said, the hell with it. I couldn't do it.
We also have on the line with us our guest Micah from the McCall podcast universe. He also has an album out called Imbalances right now. Sir, thank you for jumping on the show with us.
Hey! So excited.
Is there a particular reason why you picked this film? We're talking about It Chapter 2,
yes,
specifically, directed by Andy Muschietti. Question mark on the pronunciation.
There is a specific reason. So, if I may, I am a huge Stephen King fan. I know we were talking a little bit before, and I know there were some mixed feelings, but I've read, I'm on my 22nd novel of his. I'm reading The Stand, which is about a flu virus destroying the population of the Earth.
How appropriate.
I was like, what a good time to read it. And there's something about his writing where it's just like every time I jump in, I'm like, okay, I am in for this, and I just go with it. And particularly I actually blazed through the book, and I loved the book. I thought it was amazing. And so when I read it after the movie came out, the first movie, and I've never seen the old It. I don't care to watch that. I don't care.
It has not aged well.
But the first It, I'm not by any means touting this as like a masterpiece or anything like that. I just thought it was a fun, good, schlocky horror movie that was a fairly good adaptation of the book. And so I was very excited to see It Chapter 2. I missed it in theaters because a bunch of my friends said that they would have left the theaters if they weren't with a group of other friends.
Oh, wow.
And so then I finally watched it, and it was so excruciatingly boring, I could not believe it. And it kind of borders on self-parody in a weird way. where it's just like, it keeps on every scene. You're like, okay, they're going to pull back something. They think it's going to scare them. It doesn't. The violins go, woo! And then they're like, okay, they're fine. Then they turn around and it's behind them. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Right.
And the thing, I know Stephen King, famously, a lot of people don't like his endings. I do, for the books I've read. I haven't read them all, of course, but the ending of this book is so weird that I kept telling people before the movie came out, I'm like, I hope that this is the kind of movie where people walk out of the theater and they're just like, I don't know if I like that, because it got weird at the end. And
Right.
it didn't get weird. I feel like they didn't take that chance and do something different.
No.
It was just kind of a recreation of the first movie, with them just constantly shoving it in your face that, yes, we cast actors that look like the kids. And you're like, we get it. We get it. You don't have to flash back to the kids all the time. But that's my preamble. There's much more to go. I have a whole notepad ready.
Good. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Overall, I think the first movie's very solid. Like, genuinely good horror movie. I think a lot of that's owed to the fact that you are empathizing with the kids.
Yeah.
And specifically, they do a really good job of, like, the loss of the younger brother, affecting, what is his character's name?
Bill? Yeah.
It was Bill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Affecting Bill, the way that it affected him, very empathetic, really easy to jump on board. I had basically no issues with the first movie.
Yeah.
Second movie, on the other hand, yeah, the bordering on self-parody, I 100% can see that.
Yeah.
Just, this is a very good setup. I think the first 30 minutes are, like, very solid for getting the gang back together for the, road show. The middle of this movie is probably my biggest issue, because it is wash, rinse, repeat, the exact same horror scene with different monsters over and over and over. And then, I haven't read the book, so
and not only that, none of them are scary.
That's a big part of it.
It's a horror movie, but it's not party thing. Like, that's your biggest problem.
Well, if I may say this as well, I am not one of those book people that is like, it has to be down to a T. I think that's not smart, because a lot of time, because, like, for example, when Dr. Sleep came out, another Stephen King book, loved it. I was, like, so excited to see the movie. And the movie was so faithful to the book that I was so bored, because I was like, I just finished reading this book and now I'm just watching it again. There's no changes except for the very end of the movie, which was crazy and so weird.
They merged the Shining film and the Shining book together.
Which was kind of interesting. Yeah. I had issues with that. I mean, maybe that's another film rescue show there, but I think that if you're adapting, you have to ask yourself what would be better in a visual format. And this book is so dense and so huge. And when I saw the first movie, I'm like, okay, cool. They updated it to the 80s, and then the adults will be in the 2000s, and we're just telling one part of the story, and then later the second part. Because in the book, they go back and forth between the adults and kids the whole time, which is very cool, because then they both climax at the same time, and then both stories end at the same time. But I thought it was interesting that they cut it up. But then in this movie, they're like, okay, but we're still going to flash back to the first movie, which makes me question why they split it up in the first place.
And not only that, like, the time that they flash back to is, like, that's when they've already separated, yet they show them together again, so they retcon their previous film.
Yes, that's a perfect...
Why?
This whole movie kind of feels like they were trying to re-rate the first movie while making the second.
Yeah.
You could not watch the first film and still get the whole story.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so right.
Yeah, it does kind of function on its own.
Why would you call it Chapter 2 if it's an independent film from the first film?
Well, and
why bother?
And I remember when the first movie came out, basically the entire audience who knew the story, and I'm familiar with the book. I haven't read it, but I am familiar with the story in it. The whole audience kind of went like, "Oh, okay, you just pulled the kid stuff into its own movie. Therefore, part 2 will be all the adult stuff. That makes sense. That's a logical leap." So then coming into the theater, finding out that half the movie is taking place during the first movie,
sort of.
Sort of. what? Why?
Yeah.
We did this already. Like, we literally just did this.
Yeah. It did weirdly feel like they were trying desperately to keep the whole thing feeling like it was still in the 80s, despite the update. Which
100%.
I hope there's a fan edit out there that actually does redo the entire edit of both these films and just puts both of them together and just makes the kid stuff independent from the adult stuff.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I hope that there's a fan edit out there.
Yeah, I think you could. Definitely. I think
The 5 hour cut.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think you could do it. Well, okay, let's start off with positives. That's how I like to do the show. Let's get into what we liked first of all. Devin, did you watch the first movie? Is question 1, and then question 2, what did you like about this one?
I did watch the first movie, saw that one in theaters with a bunch of people and enjoyed it. I watched this one for the first time last night / this morning.
Yeah, split it up.
Yeah. I halfway through I was like, no, I gotta just step out. This is killing me. But oh man. Positives, I mean, like, I feel like overall a lot of the positives just fall into the realm of the types of things a movie with this budget should be getting right, which is like the special effects look good. I mean, they're not like, well, yeah, I mean, overall, for something like this, I wasn't pulled out of the movie
overuse of CGI.
Yeah, there was that, but I kind of expected that going in, so was able to suspend that part. And unfortunately, I'm getting a little too used to that at this point. Just kind of accepting it as a reality.
I accept the punishment when I walk into a theater.
But yeah, I mean, overall, like,
Bill Skarsgård's really good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he's still good.
I mean,
I would say, despite how bad the movie is, he's still really good in the film.
Yeah.
I have no issues with any of the casting, honestly. Like, and that is a big part of their marketing. Was like, look how good we did. We did the best job with aging up these actors with other actors. I think half the kids like picked their own like adult counterpart, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Like right after It 1 came out, that was just a big thing where like every fan was casting the movie, and then the cast came out and it was like, oh, I guess everybody got it right. That's weird. That never happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, Bill Hader is just everything he does is gold right now. Like, I don't even think this was a great role, and he really just like expanded it into being a main character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have watched his show on HBO.
Barry.
Barry.
Yeah. What Barry? Yeah.
It's so good. He's just, and he directs half the episodes, and he did one that's like basically like a long one shot where he gets beat up by like a rabid kung fu kid.
Yep.
It's insane and trippy and so good. I'm a big Bill Hader fan right now.
Yeah. Yeah, dude is definitely killing it.
How about you?
He was Jordan Peele before Jordan Peele.
Yeah. How about you, Jesse? Big positives for this film? I don't think it's totally trash. You have to have found something, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, cast is good. I like the fact that James Ransome is in this movie. Baltimore native.
Yep.
That's cool. God, Bill Hader is really good. Jesus.
I feel like the problem is there are some genuinely good elements of the film, but it's just so boring throughout that it's hard to actually pay attention to them.
Visually, it's not terrible.
Sure. Yeah.
It's fine.
competent.
It's completely competent.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks fine. It's got some decent lighting in it. I would say, maybe some of the sets are nice. Like, I like the design of Pennywise's crash landing location.
Yeah.
That set is sweet.
Good. That is very cool. Yeah, it's very cool. I don't think they use it effectively, but yeah, man, I really don't know what else, dude. It's very boring, and if you're gonna make a horror film, you got to scare me.
Right.
And I'm just not scared by CGI. I can't even say the special effects are good because I mentioned this in our chats. I got flashbacks to the Thing prequel, where they digitally erased all of the practical effects and then replaced them with digital effects because the studio said, "Why does it look so archaic, like it's from the 80s?"
They did that?
Because it's a prequel to the...
I never watched the prequel, because it's just one of those things where I'm like,
terrible.
I've seen
it's
the
it's
Thing,
absolute garbage.
and that's enough for me.
The prequel is terrible. The sequel video game is actually pretty good, though. I will say.
Oh, cool.
I think overall the prequel's not barring.
It's just the Thing again. It's just the Thing.
Yeah, it's like barring CGI. The idea of basically they're telling the story of the Dutch Arctic base from the beginning of the first Thing.
Oh, sure.
Swedish.
Swedish. They're like
Norwegian. Sorry,
Norwegian. They're explaining what happened there. And really, if the whole movie was practical effects, you would have me up until the last 10 minutes when they go into the spaceship, and it's like, oh, this is dumb now. Okay, I hate it.
It's a giant eyeball alien.
They go out of their way to explain it instead of just keeping it, creepy.
Yeah. The reason the first Thing is so good is because nothing was explained.
Yeah, exactly. Even the ending.
Yeah.
Even the ending's
even the ending. It's like, oh, well, who's the Thing? It's like, well, it turns out, like Dean Kunda even says on the special commentary track that everyone had an eye light. If somebody was taken over by a Thing, they'd have no eye light. Basically, they have no soul left.
Oh,
and so Childs and McCready, they have an eye light, so neither one of them is a Thing.
Oh,
right. But they hate each other.
That's cool.
The Thing is dead. They win.
Yeah,
they win.
They hate each other so much, though, that they both are going to murder each other. Like, you just know.
Well, if you play the Thing video game, that's a sequel, takes place right after the rescue team shows up.
Okay.
What happens is McCready survives.
Really?
But it turns out in the context of the game, the plan they had for the sequel to the game, McCready was actually going to be a Thing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so the game canon is that he's a Thing, but in the movie canon, he's not. So it's just like...
Where can you play this said game?
It was a PS2 game. It came out. It didn't do great. It was well received, but it's hard to find.
There's probably like a watch
Steam.
through on YouTube or something I could watch, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's like 5 hours long. The game is really short.
Yeah.
It's not worth paying for.
Okay, cool.
On brand for us, we're not talking about the movie, and instead talking
There's nothing
about
to talk about.
better movies.
The movie's so dull.
Let's break down the issues with this film. Let's do that. This is the fun part.
Okay.
This is the reason why people listen to the show beyond
well,
the pitch.
Well, can I say the one thing that the movie just is great about is already mentioned, but James, what was his last name? The guy who plays Eddie?
Oh, James Ransom.
James Ransom.
Oh, James Ransom.
He totally steals this movie for me. I can't believe he outshines like Jessica Chastain and James McAvoy and Bill Hader for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think his performance is like incredible. And theirs I'm okay with. That's how I know.
Did you watch Sneaky Pete on, I think, Amazon?
Did you say Sneaky Pete?
Amazon.
Yes.
I have not seen that, no.
He is in that show. He's not a main character, but he plays like a side character who's in jail and his life gets taken over by a con man that he doesn't know is happening. Same thing in that show. Just any scene he's in, he steals it. He's such a... I think he's a very empathetic face actor where like you can really read his emotion without him saying anything. And that's a very, I think, tough thing to bring across on film and just have it be kind of universal. You can everyone can look at his face and know what he's thinking and feeling. Yeah. And that really lends to a good performance to me.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys.
Yep.
In this film, there is a scene, starring James Ransom, where he goes into...
I know exactly what you're going to talk about.
Where he goes into the basement of the pharmacy, and he gets haunted by the leper.
Yeah.
And a song plays for about 2 seconds.
What's that?
Here's my question. I'm an editor. That's my job, like IRL. Sometimes I accidentally leave things on the timeline that shouldn't be there, and you find out when you watch back later. I'm very curious to know if that clip of the song was intentionally inserted there to make that scene laugh out loud hilarious for no reason because it totally ruins the horror of the scene, or if it was just kind of accidentally
horror,
left.
Quote,
Like
it's not a scary scene to begin with because it's all CGI.
Yeah.
See, I would
like,
be okay with that song if it played for like 10 seconds. You know what I mean? Like it plays so shortly that you really don't know if it's a joke or not.
It doesn't really fade in or out. It just kind of happens.
It's a hard edit.
What is that?
I
remember listening to Ronald D. Moore, who created Battlestar Galactica. He just did a short commentary or podcast about I think it was in season 3 of Battlestar, and he was talking about his time working on the show Roswell, the original version of Roswell, not the remake we have now, but the original from the 2000s. And he said there was an episode they were trying to do where they were trying to make a horror episode, and the way they shot it and the way it was filmed and the way it was edited, the way it was put together, they were like, it wasn't horrifying or scary.
Yeah.
So the executive producer of the show said, fuck it, make it a comedy. And so they put in goofy music and weird sound effects, and they made the episode a comedy, and it worked.
Oh,
strange.
So they basically took what was meant to be a horror scene or a horror episode and transmuted it into a comedy episode because the horror wasn't working. So I think they were in the editing bay putting this movie together, and they said, this isn't scary, and we can't make it scary with the footage we have now, no matter what we do. Fuck it, make it a comedy.
Yeah.
Because the movie is already so derailed at this point and so dull because nothing's scary. They said, yeah, just make it a comedy.
Yeah.
That's got to be what happened, because the movie is so unfrightening.
Did I misspeak? Is that Bill Hader's scene, now that I'm thinking back?
No, that's James Renson.
Okay, okay.
That's Richie. That's the Richie character.
See, literally, this movie is gaslighting me because I'm thinking, no, that must have been a Bill Hader scene because he's a comedian. It would have made sense to do it during.
No, that's the is that the no? That's which one is the one that dies? Which one is the one that dies at the end of the movie?
Eddie dies.
Richie's not the one that dies.
Yeah,
Eddie dies.
Yeah,
It's Eddie Kasprak. It's Eddie Kasprak. That's the one that goes into the basement. Richie's the one that sees Paul Bunyan come alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, really, did anybody think that was scary at all?
No.
Well, it's
exactly.
Like, see, that's another thing where in the book, the Paul Bunyan statue comes alive. I read it and I was like, man, this is very scary. Because it's written and you're in the mind of the character. When you're watching it, you're like, this is very goofy. Maybe you make a new decision about that and you decide to be a little unfaithful to the book.
Oh, 100%.
That's all you need to do.
That's kind of the point. You could compare the book, I suppose, to the 100 pages that I read, to like an H.P. Lovecraft novel, where it's more frightening inside your head rather than it is on the screen. And that's the thing about Pennywise, that he's a cosmic creature that's been around for millions and millions of years. He doesn't really have a physical form that we can understand, so he takes the form of a clown, or a leper, or a werewolf, which has been cut from the film. Yeah, the werewolf is not in the current film that we have now. It's in the original 90s movie, but it's terrible. But yeah, like that brings up another problem, is that Pennywise's powers are never explained.
No.
Like, the rules of the film are never laid out properly. Like, how much power does he actually have? Like, he needs to feed on people in the town, kids. Okay, why isn't he just attacking everything? What, like, nothing, like, everyone will be terrified of him. He just came out of the sewers and started attacking everything.
Sure. Yeah.
Why is it that he doesn't just do that? Why does he keep hounding everybody and letting them go?
That brings up the most confusing scene in this entire movie for me, which is the one with him and the little girl under the bleachers.
Oh,
because like he literally makes her comfortable. The whole thing is him like making her comfortable with him. When like I thought his whole thing was he wanted people.
Oh, you're so right.
He wants people to be scared, and she's like completely happy to be there and like kind of getting to like him. It's like, wait a minute, does this not break everything he's about?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why that scene exists, and the reason why the first movie works so well, is because it's children, and he's an adult man. So there's a very visual, intentional power dynamic there with like, kids can't overwhelm adults. You know what I mean? Like, a kid cannot beat up an adult. However, when you see James McAvoy versus Pennywise in a like mirror house, in my head, I'm going, I don't know, maybe he could take him. Like, maybe he could literally beat the shit out of Pennywise.
We all saw Glass.
Yeah, like, I'm not convinced that he's in any danger here, so they insert kids into these scenes to make it like more intense. So you're going, oh no, but the kid can't beat up Pennywise, so he's in danger.
Yeah, and I get that. The Mirror House one makes complete sense. Like, it works within the context of how Pennywise operates, but the little girl under the bleacher breaks like his whole MO.
100%.
Yeah,
but like,
also,
I think
the idea of like the way to stop Pennywise is that you stop being afraid of him.
Right.
Like, but that takes away his power. Why does that take away his power if he's been around for millions of years?
Like,
yeah, because no one believes
believes
in him anyway. So he has to like prove that he exists to everybody and then kill them. So I don't know why they went with just calling him a clown. Which in my head, in that scene, all I hear is the like Smokey Robinson song "Tears of a Clown" when they're yelling at him.
Right.
And I'm just like, I need to like edit a cut that just has that playing over it.
Please do. Please do. Yeah, I think for me, it really starts to break down when your villain doesn't have established powers. We don't know what he is. They don't, and like you were saying earlier, they don't go into the weirdness and explain that he's this like, cosmic deity basically that has infinity power, because that's maybe too much for the audience to absorb. But when they leave out the big thing from the book, which is the space.
And that is my biggest issue with this movie. I wanted to see a giant cosmic turtle, and they did not give that to me.
And from what I recall,
there's references to it, but they don't ever.
Yeah, they just show real turtles. That's not good enough for Micah.
From what I recall, everyone that knew the story of the book was like, "Hey, glad you left out the kid gangbang. Please include the turtle."
Yeah.
No one was like opposed to the turtle being in this movie.
It's what binds together the entirety of Stephen King's universe. That and the Dark Tower,
right? But
so those two things, the Space Turtle and the Dark Tower, are what combine all of Stephen King's books into one big universe. So leaving that out, you're like missing half the story.
No. Yeah, I think for me, if you don't establish your villain's powers and then your villain looks like somebody I could beat up in real life, I'm not scared anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna bash Pennywise's head against the mirrors in that maze, and everything's gonna be fine. Like, I'm not scared of him anymore.
Yeah.
He needed to be more Freddy Krueger.
Yes.
Because think about it, like, Pennywise's abilities in this film compared to Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street, they're the same thing.
Yeah, basically.
The only difference is that it's when you're awake, not asleep.
Right. Which
it's the same thing.
Arguably could be scarier.
Yeah.
How about you, Micah? Where does this film really break down for you? Where are you kind of like hitting the eject button? No, I'm good. This is silly now.
Well, I the first time I saw it was the Chinese restaurant was where I was like, no way. This really breaks down, because I was like following the movie, and then when I saw and I don't like to just be, it sounds like you guys are on the same boat. I don't like to just be like CGI equals bad always, because it can be awesome. But I was just watching that scene, and I kind of started giggling, and I don't like giggling when I'm supposed to be scared,
Right.
And then where I was like out, the first movie was when they did the montage where they're all getting their memento from their past. And once it finished like two of them, I was like, oh no. We have to do this 4 more times. I think it's 4 more times. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Right.
But as far as like, can I throw out to you? I made a list of, it's like 8 or so rules that this movie should abide by, I think.
Okay.
So the first one is, I really think, and this is probably my most controversial, I think that yes, the cast looks a lot like the kids, but I think they should have used like they did with Eddie, the James, I forgot his last name again. Ranson. Gotta memorize that. But James Ranson, he was like this guy, he's like a character actor. I don't really know who he is. That was really cool. But when you're watching the movie and you see 3 ultra famous actors, your brain automatically tells you, I don't have to care about the others.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree.
I think that they should have done like a cast of character actors that maybe like film nerds and stuff would be like, oh, cool, that's the guy who was in 2 episodes of Breaking Bad, and that person's in, a side character on this. And I think you would have been
choose less known actors.
Yeah, basically. I think that would have fixed a huge problem. Because every time it goes to, what's his name? Mike. I'm always like, I know that he knows everything about Pennywise, but I've never seen this actor before, so I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a very metatextual thing, too, that, like, people don't realize. There's only two things to do with a big famous actor in a horror movie. Either they survive because you know them and you're rooting for them, or they're going to die very suddenly and very early. Like, list me a movie where a popular actor dies at the hour and a half mark in a 2-hour movie. It doesn't happen.
Deep Blue Sea.
Okay. But that was for comedy because Samuel L. Jackson getting murked in the middle of a speech where he's professing being a cannibal. That scene exists in Hollywood, and I love that. I feel like they did that for the meta aspect of it. What other rules do you have? I like this. That was a really like dead on point for me.
Yeah. So I already mentioned the movie borders on self-parody. We discussed that pretty thoroughly. So that's rule number 2. Rule number 3 is you need to axe the kids completely from the movie, except for, and I'll save this for my pitch in one scene. No kids.
Okay.
At all. I don't want to see them. Because I watched 2 hours of them last time. Why am I seeing them again? In these weird scenes that one of you mentioned, I can't remember who, it feels like they're retconning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that they retcon the first film.
Well, and then you don't have to ADR their puberty voices either.
Oh, God.
I didn't even notice that.
Nuts.
That's hilarious.
Because half the kids have been ADR'd because they had a 2-year gap between filming, so they have grown physically, and also their voices have changed.
Finn Wolfhard.
You can tell when they're in the clubhouse, watch their mouths move, and listen to the audio, you can very, very clearly see they are
Oh,
you can tell the clubhouse scene is the last thing they filmed, and may have been reshoots.
Oh, sure.
I don't know for sure, but if someone from production told me those were reshoots, I'd be like, yep, I believe that, 100%.
Yeah.
Very last thing they filmed.
Their hair is different. Their faces don't look quite the same.
Like, of the group, Finn Wolfhard, like, you can tell between Stranger Things season, I think 2 and 3 was the most intense one, where it's like, I mean, he's a kid becoming a man.
Yeah.
Why are we working around this? This is a natural thing that happens. That's like, I don't understand the logic behind, well, they have to sound like kids. It's like, kids grow up. I get that. I'm an adult human. The same thing happened to me. Why is this something you guys are working so hard to avoid? It's like, that just happens.
I mean, in the Harry Potter movies, when all those kids were growing up, they didn't ADR their voices.
No,
they
not
said,
at all.
That, like, the point of it is that they are growing up. They are changing.
Exactly.
But it's like, in the context of it, though, like, that's still the same summer in the second chapter. That's still the same summer as the first film.
Yeah.
So why are they different? They should have shot out, if you're going to have the kids in the second film, shoot all the kids stuff for the second film at the same time as the first film. That way you've still got it. And if you don't want to use it, cut it and shove it into the first film.
Do a director's cut that has all that stuff for the first movie. For all the people who are obsessed with Finn Wolfhard.
Totally. Mr. 80s himself. The child never touched the 80s, and yet he represents that era right now for some reason.
Kids on bikes.
Devin, how about you? Where does this movie really like lose you?
No, actually, it kind of the same place in the diner, and the big reason why is it's the first real scare of the movie.
Yeah,
and all I could think the entire time was like, just step on it. Just freaking step on it. It's tiny. There are these it's not scary. And that was also the moment I realized, they're not going to do any build up for any of their horror scenes. They're just going to drop us right in the middle of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And like, which they did. And yeah, so from that was the point where like I was watching it last night and I just shut it off for like half an hour. I was like, I don't even know if I'm mentally ready to deal with this. Also realizing I had like 2.5 hours left to go at that point. But yeah.
And that scene, like, that is right out of the book.
Yeah.
The Chinese restaurant. That is out of the book where like the fortune cookies start coming alive. Like, that is in the book. change that, please.
Or
because first off, it's in the original '90s movie.
Yeah.
They did the same scene just with CGI in the original '90s film, which is not very good. Like, that's better because it's practical effects.
Right.
Why not change it to be like, the food starts becoming the food comes out and it looks like it's covered in maggots or something.
Yeah. See, I also would have been.
It's a simple trick, but it's effective.
I would have been okay with it too if it was like a swarm of things. If it's just like so many, it would have overwhelmed them. But it was like one thing. It was so slow, and it was like it's grotesque, but like it's not scary.
Yeah.
It also brings up a problem of it breaks the rules of Pennywise's power. Pennywise is in Derry, but apparently he can affect anything anywhere.
Well, no, they're in Derry.
They're in Derry.
That's in Derry.
That's right. They did go back. That's right. That's in Derry.
But it does break his power of he has to be there. Like, he is a physical entity.
But he's not there.
Yeah. For me, I think that's the most frustrating scene because it is so good until it's not. Like, you're watching very good actors really have, like, on-screen chemistry and camaraderie. They're killing it as far as, like, getting me invested in these people until basically right after he does the fortune cookie. He opens the fortune cookie, now it's creepy, and then we just go full tilt, zoomed in CGI, and it's like, okay. Yep. And then, and this is something we've brought up a lot lately, film language is important. If no one else in the restaurant is concerned about what's happening in the room, the movie's telling me not to be very concerned. Right after, it was telling me to be very concerned.
Yeah, there's like no extras at all in this entire film.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's like no extras. Like, the entire town of Derry is so depopulated. I'm like, what's going on? It's like, is this Silent Hill?
Right.
Like, where is everyone? And like, he's like, Mike is smashing the table with a chair.
Right.
And the server comes in and is like, do you guys need anything?
Well, and see, on the surface,
I almost
Crazy
laughed
white
at that
people.
point because I was like, is it actually happening or is it in their heads? Like,
my only thought is like, that woman is just going, crazy white people.
Yeah, 100%.
Fucking white people.
See, I think.
Oh, and sorry. You, Seth, you had mentioned that you thought that the what was it? The fan belief of what the second film was is that they're actually in purgatory. They die at the end of the first film, and this is purgatory.
That's the Reddit running theory is the reason
that would make more sense.
Yeah, the reason
honestly
Derry's so depopulated is the kids died in the first movie, and they basically grew up in purgatory.
No,
I could totally believe that.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a total downer of an ending.
Yeah,
but. Like,
well, that goes into what I thought that you should do with this story is that it should be more like cosmic horror, like H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
And has anybody here read the Cary Fukunaga version of what this is supposed to be?
No, you sent.
It was supposed to be more cosmic horror, like Pennywise. When you see Pennywise in his lair, it was more like a starfish on the ceiling. And it was going to be more like tentacles everywhere, and like H.P. Lovecraft, kind of like a Shoggoth or Yog-Sothoth, with like those Agent Lovecraft monsters.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really kill it. You could put it down for 27 years and it would come back.
Right.
So you couldn't really win. And the story of that was going to be more ingrained in modern day politics, or like the original opening was that. It was going to take place in the 1600s, and a woman's daughter was going to be captured by Pennywise, and Pennywise was going to make a deal with her, and he was going to say, if you let me have your daughter, I'll let the rest of your family live. So she sacrifices her daughter in order to let the rest of her family survive.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was going to be more like, like the entire town has made a deal with Pennywise, like, we'll offer up one kid every now and again if you leave the rest of us alone.
Yeah.
That would explain why everyone is ignoring the problem in the town.
And that,
because it established hard rules. Like, this is why he doesn't affect everyone.
And this is why Ari Aster should have done this movie, if not Cary Fukunaga.
I'm scared already.
Ari Aster
it's Midsommar. It's just if you'd done that, it would have been Midsommar set in the Stephen King universe.
Basically, yeah. But like, it would have worked so well if like you're slowly and what's the Lovecraft story with the fish people? Where you
there's a ton of them.
Yeah, the one where
Shadow over Innsmouth.
There you go. That one.
The town of Innsmouth is being run by fish people.
Yeah, like you get to the town, you figure out that like weird things are going on, but it's not really until the end that you're like, oh, these aren't even humans, and they worship a like fish god in the sea, and that's why everything's all fucked up. Yeah.
And eventually they're going to de-evolve into fish, and they're going to slither out into the ocean where they will live.
Oh, that's
right.
interesting.
Yeah, and it that also brings up the thing that Fukunaga wanted to do was that he wanted to add in more political stuff, which is like racism, sexism, homophobia.
Right.
And there is some of that. There's a lot of that in the
Yeah.
book, but a lot of that has been excised from the films. None of that is like you have the opening of this film where Adrian Mellon is killed in a homophobic assault.
Right.
And that's the opening of the book. And then Pennywise finds him in the river and kills him. That is directly lifted from the book.
Yeah.
And it's probably the best scene in the film. Because it's something that we can relate to, and it's an actual horror we can connect with.
Well,
and I made the comparison that that the book is a lot like Alan Moore's run of Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Where it includes like actual horrors that we're terrified of: nuclear devastation, pollution, racism, misogyny, sexual abuse, things like that. Those are things that we can connect with, and he used monsters of like werewolves, vampires, swamp creatures as a means of a metaphor,
right,
to relay it to an audience.
Well, and initially
that's what this should have done.
Initially, that opening scene wasn't even going to be in the film. The production was going to excise that and just cut it out. They were like, this is too political. We don't like this. This is going to be like...
And it's the best scene in the movie. It's the best thing in the film. Like, and that's the thing that's in the book, is that the leper that goes after, is it Richie? No,
Eddie,
it's Eddie,
yeah.
Eddie Kasprak. The leper in the book is like, hey, Eddie, I'll suck your dick. Is like, he wants to give him a blowjob.
Right.
Like, that's like the twisted sexual abuse, and like they're coming of age at that point. Like, there's the sexual undertones, thankfully, have been excised from the film.
Right.
Yeah.
No underage gangbang, thank God.
Yeah,
Glad
I
about
think
that.
I understand the meaning of it. I understand why it's in the book. I get it, but it's just like, it's still fucked up.
Well, yeah, I mean...
And the even more fucked up is that Bill is supposed to be a surrogate of Stephen King. Bill is sixth in line to have sex with the girl.
I mean, okay, so... For anyone unaware...
here we go.
Yeah. Here it is.
The book's real fucking weird. This was during the 80s Stephen King cocaine binge.
This is totally... The co-author of this book should have been cocaine.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And of the things that we did not get in this film that are in the book, first of all, there is a counterpart to Pennywise that is a cosmic turtle.
Maturin.
I'm not kidding.
Maturin. Maturin.
Yeah, Maturin.
And you have to do a ancient ritual which involves drugs, which they kind of did for a minute in the movie and then really like wussed out on it.
Yeah. Because drugs are bad.
Right. That's all happening in the background. This is how they figure out how to kill Pennywise in the book.
The ritual of Chud.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then something else that they cut out from the book, rightfully so, because this is one of those things that if you run the idea by somebody and you're like a popular writer like Stephen King, they're going to go, oh, that's interesting. Are you sure you want to do that?
How many people want to guess that the publishing company saw the size of this manuscript and they just said,
run it.
And they read like maybe like 50 pages and they were like, yeah, it's all right, we'll publish it, and then didn't see what was in the back half of the book and they said, oh, fuck.
Right. Well,
but it's selling really well. We have to keep it on shelves. Oh, shit.
It's like 1,100 pages.
It's like a fucking tome, and which is weird because like Stephen King usually writes his book very quickly. He spent 4 years on this thing. He writes very, very quickly. He'll put out like at least 2 books a year.
So for this next part, I want you to keep in mind this was Stephen King, and I'm just reporting it to you. This is not my idea. I did not condone this idea. But the way the kids escape the sewers in the book is they basically realize they have to literally come of age by all of them having sex with what's the girl's name?
Beverly.
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 I mean, they're like 12 and 13 in the book too. These are not.
Yeah.
And even then, like they even age him up in the first
Yeah.
film, and even then, it's still not okay.
This is middle schoolers having a sewer gangbang. Again, not me. This is just what's in the book. This is Stephen King.
That
was excised, and this is why adaptations are good,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's something you don't adapt ever.
That was a scene when I was reading.
And yet he won't put the book.
Oh.
And yet he won't put the book Rage back
Yeah.
into print. Like, really?
But that was a scene
Right.
when I was reading it. It was like it's like a page long, and I read it, and I'm like, okay, that just went out of my brain, and I'm going to continue reading the book and just pretend I didn't read that page. Here we go. I'm still enjoying this, and when I mention it to people, I'll just say, "There's a bad page in there. You can skip it."
Right. Yeah, it is. I think it's going to go down in infamy. I don't even know if he talks about it in interviews, because
He has,
I think he has said he wished he had. I think he said he wished he hadn't done.
Good. Okay, so we're all on the same page. Hey,
Yeah.
bad idea. Let's all tear that page out of our copy of it. It's not here, and we talk about this on the show, especially every time we do a book to movie. Adaptations are supposed to be done from memory, like what sticks with you, and then what is so visual that as you're reading it, you're seeing it in your head.
Yeah, like the best one is probably Annihilation, where it's adapted from the material, but it's not a direct one-to-one adaptation.
Exactly.
Like you can read the book as one thing, and then you can watch the film and it's another thing, but they are sort of like companion pieces of each other. They share the same general ideas. Like it'd be better if you had different scares in this film.
Yeah.
Like you established that I think Bill Hader's character is implied to be homosexual. What if his real horror is that people find out that he's actually homosexual and that he's going to be beaten up just like at the beginning of what that happens to Andrew Mellon.
Easy fix right there.
Like that's a real horror that he can relate to. Not Paul Bunyan.
Yeah.
Okay, something that's legitimately terrifying, like getting the shit kicked out of you in an alleyway somewhere and being left for dead. That's terrifying because it happens.
Yeah. Micah, you picked this movie. I just want to point that out.
Yes, yes.
Wait, have we finished?
Sorry,
have we finished your
guys.
list yet?
Jeez.
We got to finish your
Yes.
list.
Yeah. Did you have more rules?
I have like 3 more. I know it's a lot,
Okay.
but I mean,
No, I love these.
this is
These are
what you
great.
guys do. So,
No, it's what I do whenever I'm offered to do this.
so okay, I talked about the kids. Okay, so Maturin, the cosmic turtle, has to be in the movie. Crazy that he wasn't in it. We talked about that.
If you want to know what Maturin looks like, go watch Neverending Story.
Is there a cosmic turtle in that? I don't remember that.
The big turtle.
It's been too long.
That's
I actually
Maturin.
watched that when I was on tour, like in the back of our van on my phone, so I didn't get the full effect of that movie, and I didn't grow up with it. So,
yeah.
Well, for everybody out there, go watch Neverending Story, the giant turtle. That's Maturin.
I'm very interested. I'm also like previous touring musician. To know that you guys were watching movies like that in your tour bus when I was subjected to things like a Serbian film and things like that.
What the fuck?
well,
Yeah.
in the band I was in playing, like I was the movie guy, so I led the pack as best as I could.
Oh, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Yeah, I agree. The turtle should be in it. It's not so weird compared to the things that happen in this film.
Yeah,
honestly.
and I hope that you guys will go with me when we get to my Act 3 rewrite. I have some things that I think with the turtle, I do think it would have pit people against each other, and a lot of people would have been like, oh, I didn't like that. But I think critics and fans of the book would have been like, yes, that is so freaking cool. So, but we'll save that. Then two more things. Well, kind of 3. Cut all the kids that Bill is dealing with and the girl under the bleachers. Just cut it.
Yeah.
Right. If you
It never gets referenced again.
No.
and if you cut it, you
Doesn't
save
affect
20
like
minutes.
when the girl gets killed under the bleachers, like the girl gets killed under the bleachers, it's like it's never referenced again.
No.
Right.
And then
There's not even like a missing poster. It's like there's nothing.
I mean, like that's your promotional material. That's not plot.
yeah, that's like the like short they release on YouTube before the movie. So you're like, ooh, I'm scared again.
Exactly. Pennywise is back.
Exactly.
And then scratch Stan's letter at the end. I hate that so much. I hate that he killed himself at the beginning of the movie, but before he did that, he went and wrote this really nice letter that somehow explains that he wasn't being a coward when the point is he failed his friends.
Yeah.
People fail friends.
The point is that he is a coward. That's the point.
And also that scene, when I read that scene in the book, I was actually kind of scared to turn the pages as he slowly went up to the bathroom and was cutting his wrists and stuff.
Yeah.
And when I watched it in the movie, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh, this was kind of the most iconic scene in the book for me. And I know this is like a selfish adaptation thing, but I watched that scene and felt nothing. Because I love that idea.
Well, also, it's like when you see him with his wrist cut in the tub, it's like a 1 second shot.
Yeah.
Whereas in the original 90s film, it's like it holds on that shot for a long time.
Yeah.
You see him in the tub and he's all bled out.
Yeah.
Like, also, it would have been nice in the book if it didn't have like 25 pages of getting the history of his fucking life just to have him go upstairs and cut his wrist. It's 25 fucking pages of just like, and he became a vacuum cleaner salesman and he established a nice house.
I'm all about
married.
that kind of
They've been
stuff.
trying to have kids, and then he just goes and cuts his wrists. Like, all that build up for that.
See, that's one of my actually favorite things about King, though, is he just spends so much time with each character. But I totally get that complaint. I totally get it. But for me, it's like, okay, I know who this guy is. And then maybe that's why I was so scared when he cut his wrist, because I was like, I already know everything about him. And so
you're so invested at that point.
Yeah. But I totally get that complaint. And then my last one before the pitch is, I think this movie is way too inspired by superhero filmmaking.
Oh. Hot take. Please explain.
It is like, it has this feeling to me of Nick Fury putting together a team. And there's even these shots where they're like walking in the street and it's like, look at your heroes, the Avengers. They're all staggered on the street, like looking at each other this way. And it's this nice overview. And I'm like, I should be in these people's heads. Or this should be claustrophobic. This shouldn't be like, we're the heroes and we're going to defeat this. I know that's what they're doing, but it just felt like the camera in a lot of the outdoor sets and when they're just walking around is just like filmed the way they would do a Marvel movie, which I don't have a problem with Marvel movies, but I have a problem with that in this movie. It's too...
Yeah.
And then also the flashbacks to Pennywise as he's like building his army. You know what I mean? It's like he's attacking the kids, and it to me it felt like, oh, this is the villain in the Marvel movies that's like building his army and like getting cubes or cosmic stuff, and then it's gonna lead to the showdown. It just felt too like the movie wouldn't look like this if this came out in 2005. That's what I would argue.
Sure. No, yeah, I like the reason the Marvel movie villains work is because it's like unstoppable force meets immovable object, right? Like these are very equal and opposite power levels, and you want to see who wins. Whereas a film like this, you want it to be, nope, Pennywise is gonna fucking murder everybody. This is a suicide mission. You should be like shitting yourself scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. And again, film language. If your film is informing me that these are the Avengers of horror and they have the power within them to beat Pennywise, it's like, well, should I be scared at this point? Like when he turns into a giant spider, I'm like, that whole finale is kind of shot like an Avengers movie where like the team gets split up and they have to like help somebody who got hurt off on the side and like there's stakes and like as a scene it functions. I can understand what's happening, but the film language.
Can we talk about the tone in that scene though, at the end where it's like, oh god, it's everywhere. Like when they open the door and the Pomeranian is there and they're like, oh, you're so cute. Like you don't get that it's actually a trick,
right?
Like really.
And a Spielberg can handle the horror with the comedy with the action. Like he can juggle it in a way that it makes sense. But the end of this film for me, especially after just like snoozing through the middle of it, because the middle of this movie to me is a snooze fest.
Oh yeah.
By the time we get to the end, I'm going like, all right, let's beat Pennywise already. Like why is this taking so long at this point? Even in the first movie. The horror is like Beverly's been like she's seen the lights and now she's like stuck in suspended animation and Pennywise has disappeared and we had that funky like head focused camera dance thing that turned into a meme like the whole end of the first movie is like can these kids actually do it? And then by the time they've overcome him and they're like beating the shit out of Pennywise, you're like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. They overcame things. And then in this movie, it's like, I don't know, they're fighting a kaiju at this point. Like, I don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah.
That's why Cary Fukunaga's version would have been better. It's like, it's something you can't beat.
Yeah.
A giant starfish with tentacles.
Right.
Like, how the hell do
Although,
you fight that?
my only argument with that is I just feel like Cary should just make that a movie, because that's almost not even an adaptation of the book, you know? So just make that movie, because I want to see it. Of course, I want to see anything that guy touches. I love him so much.
Well, also, there was, like, a lot more of the sexual abuse with Beverly and her father.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There was, like, it wasn't like he was abusing her. Like, you know, he was raping her.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that was in there. It's like, and it was even implied that Pennywise was taking over her father, and so it basically was Pennywise raping her.
Right.
So that's way more of a full-on violation.
Right.
It's
For
like,
sure.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing where it's like, that would have worked better in this film, because that's truly horrifying.
Right.
As opposed to just blood shooting out of a sink.
If he's like a like outer space sex fiend, that is frightening, especially if it's not like schlocky B movie stuff. If it's genuinely
not like Species, not like
right.
that.
Yeah. There's definitely, and they went R for both of these movies. They went hard R on both of these movies.
This is barely PG-13.
Yeah.
There's like nothing in this movie that's like could not be put down into a PG-13. Maybe cut a little bit of the blood, but that's about it. Like, there's nothing. It's all CGI. Like, it's all CGI. So what the hell difference does it make? Like, it's not real.
Right. It lets them hold on intense shots longer, but like, that's it. They didn't really take advantage of it to the point of actually scaring me.
Well, and the swearing, of course. You know, they'd have to edit that a lot. But, I mean, if you rewrote the movie, you could ostensibly, like, rewrote the dialogue. You could kind of make it PG-13. I don't think that'd be good for the source material, but
no, I
get what you
agree.
guys are saying. Yeah.
But even in the first movie, the kid gets his fucking arm bitten off on screen. Like, that's R. Yeah. That is R-rated. I was horrified.
Yeah.
Like, the kid actor was doing a fantastic job of it. Like, there's blood in the streets. Hey, that's a real R-rated movie. And then this movie's like, I don't know, we're just gonna shy away from all that. He's gonna eat the little girl off screen. It doesn't matter. It's Venom, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you guys had the R rating. Show it to me. Scare me, please.
Yeah. This whole movie felt like it definitely should have gone more grotesque, like body horror grotesque than whatever they were trying to do.
Like, if Pennywise can manipulate what you're seeing, he could manipulate, like, you thinking like you're mutating or something like that. He can do, like, Cronenberg body horror stuff. Like, they never do any of that. It's like, oh, there's a mummy, or hey, there's a leper, or hey, there's a werewolf. Like, you could do really, really nasty stuff.
Or hey, there's
like Hellraiser levels of body horror.
Hey, there's a Stan's head with a spider, which we saw in The Thing, but how come I'm scared of The Thing, but I'm not scared of this?
It's literally the same thing as the thing. Even the line of dialogue is, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." It's literally
you're
ripped
right.
off, and it's all done with CGI, so it looks like complete shit compared to the original film.
Yeah, that's like,
subtlety goes a long way.
Practical effects still work. I don't know why studios think they don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, you look at, like horror films right now are fucking amazing. Like, Hereditary, Midsommar, The Witch, you know, It
The
Follows,
Lighthouse?
like, Lights Out. Like, the amount of really good horror films that are made, like, it's incredible that it's like an embarrassment of riches, but all of those films are independent films.
Yeah.
Like, studio productions, like, studio-based horror films are fucking garbage. Like, they're always the same thing. It's always the same bullshit. It's always, like, they have a high budget, they have big-name actors, and they always are trying to make you comfortable, as opposed to making you scared, and they use jump scares. Like, a surprise is like a bomb goes off under a table. Suspense is, you know there's a bomb under the table, but the main characters on screen don't know it.
Right.
Like, that's the Hitchcock thing.
Yeah.
Like, you could establish that with this film. Like, they know that Pennywise could be anywhere throughout the town. They're paranoid of everything that's happening, but they seem relatively comfortable the entire film.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, again, establish hard rules.
Yeah.
Like,
the comedy in this movie. We'll end this segment on this. This movie's trying too hard to be funny and not being very good at it, and it kind of ruins everything else.
Because it's not a horror film. Because they knew the horror was failing, so they said make it a comedy.
The scene that really hurt me, the scene that made me like eye roll Tiffany Faye hard, was the Stephen King cameo.
Oh yeah, where he shows up and which is funny because that character, the Bill character, is the analog of him.
Right.
And then he says when Bill says, "Oh, you want me to sign this for you?" and King says, "No, I didn't like the ending."
Right.
It's like, I get it.
But here's the thing: when a character in your film makes a joke about the ending being bad, guess what I'm going to assume about your film?
Totally.
The ending is bad.
The ending's probably not good. And
Yeah.
in anything else, that'd be called lampshading, but no, this is the movie informing me I'm in for a bad time. Which, it's funny to me now, not watching the movie, knowing that I was not going to have a good time. But while I'm watching, that scene's meant to be funny. It's meant to be this, tongue-in-cheek in-joke, oh yeah, we get it. And you recognize Stephen King, you get what this is. The movie is informing you, this is hilarious. And I'm watching going, is this not over yet? He's buying the bike from his childhood in this same scene. Well, I was frustrated.
You know how there's some people that can be suckers for cameos?
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, I know it's not good, but I'm a sucker for that scene. I'll admit it.
He's not Jordy Verrill from Creepshow. No.
I haven't seen that one, but I just...
Oh, it's great. He plays the main character in one of the Swiss films. Because he and George Romero were best friends.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't have an issue with Stephen King cameoing. I have an issue with the lines that he was given.
No, you're so right. It's just one of those things where I'm like, hey, Jordan, that's my wife, by the way. It's like, here, there's our favorite writer. That's pretty cool. And we've been bored for a while, so at least we're hanging out with Stephen King for a minute. Okay, now it's over.
Yeah.
Also, finding out on the back end, Guillermo del Toro was supposed to have a cameo that got cut.
What?
Yeah, he was supposed to play a janitor in the film, and that didn't happen.
Why?
Because he loves the material.
Okay.
Yeah, literally that's what it was. He was like, "Oh, I love that you guys are making this movie." He loved the first movie, rightfully so. And he was like, "Please let me have a cameo." And they planned it, and it didn't happen. And that hurts me even more.
I would prefer to see him in a cameo than
or have them interact with each other. How funny would that be?
Oh yeah,
if they both ran the pawn shop together, that's my fix for the movie. Guillermo del Toro and Stephen King run a pawn shop
Everything
together.
else forgiven. Everything else is forgiven.
I'd watch just that movie, just the two of them running a pawn shop. That sounds like a great movie.
It's a half hour of them just arguing about the value of the things that just came in.
Oh yeah. It's like that parody horror movie where the two guys are watching kids get killed by accident.
Oh, Tucker and Dale
versus Evil. It's that with Stephen King and Guillermo del Toro.
The ticket's sold. The ticket's sold.
Right. I love it. Let's does anybody else have any points they want to hit on before we cut to a break?
I mean, not really.
I mean, sorry for making you watch it.
We kind of covered everything.
I just wanted to make sure.
Well, was it just me, or did James McAvoy's performance seem like it was really bad in this movie?
I think it was what it was. You know.
Yeah, okay.
The
scene where he's flipping out at the kid with the skateboard just seemed like, oh man, you are hamming it up.
I kind of assumed a lot of the cast was just drunk on set for fun.
Yeah. Well, it also seemed like, in the context of the film, all the characters, they know the extent of Pennywise's powers, yet they keep going forward and trying to interact with things that they know are not real. He's reaching into, James McAvoy's reaching into the sewer to grab Georgie. I'm like, dude, you have known this kid has been dead for 27 years. Are you this dumb? Like I said, don't have your main characters ahead of your audience. It's a bad sign.
I do wish the amnesia had been, like, something that was part of the plot. Like,
or at least explain it away. Like, explain why they have amnesia.
Right.
Like, it's never explained. It's just like, oh, we just forgot.
They do mention...
Why?
And of course they get into it way more in the book, that as they leave Derry, it becomes a fog. But I think one of the things I love about the book is as the adults come back, they kind of tried to do this, but they didn't hit it hard enough. They, like, slowly turn into, like, their childhood selves. You know, like, Bill gets his stutter back, which they kind of do. I mean, they do it in the movie, but I almost feel like, for how obvious this movie is, I don't know why, like, that wasn't hit harder. And scenes like that. You know, and, like, Eddie breaks his arm before they fight Pennywise at the end of the book and stuff like that. So it's like they regress into, like, their childhood forms, and I just don't feel like they showed that in the movie.
No, yeah, I think for all of the, like, ostensibility of the film, there's no subtlety to show the things that really make it work, which are the regression, the amnesia, the, like, them, like, and PTSD is, like, a real thing, right? And these kids definitely have it because they fought a monster deity in the sewers.
Yeah.
I don't know how your childhood was, but I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, they needed to establish hard rules in order to explain things away.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
That's why I appreciate Micah bringing on some hard rules for how to make this film work. Because I agree, like, isn't that, like, Act 1 of any horror movie is set up the rules?
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you jump on board. Even, like, The Conjuring, who keeps the rules kind of loose, it still goes, like, these are ghosts, and you should be scared, but, like, not scared out of your mind until somebody gets possessed. And now, we all know the rules of possession. We don't have to explain this to you. But if you're doing a Lovecraftian, you know, outer space deity, I'm gonna need some hard rules as to what he can and can't do. Can he affect people outside of Derry? Is he the reason the kid killed himself? Like, give me a little, and I'll give you a mile if you give me an inch.
Yeah.
But there are no hard rules for Pennywise in this.
Well, and I made a huge mistake because last Sunday I rewatched the first movie. And then I think on Wednesday, I watched John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness for the first time.
I just rewatched that.
I saw that.
And I was horrified by that movie in such a good way. It's, like, not that well received. I assume in 20 years people will respect it, but it's just incredible. And my wife and I were just scared. And then last night I watched this movie and I was like, I really shouldn't have watched John Carpenter this week because it really makes this movie look even worse.
Yeah.
A better film to compare to is In the Mouth of Madness, where a Stephen King type of writer goes and has escaped to a town, and
that's
an
Sam
agent
Neill
goes to visit the town to try to it's Sam Neill, and he goes to visit the town, try to find this Stephen King type writer, Sutter Kane. Turns out the town that's in Sutter Kane's books is a real place, and it's like H.P. Lovecraft type creatures are coming alive. Everything that's being written in the book is coming true, and you try to escape the town, but you can't escape.
That
cool.
movie,
it's really good.
I'm working through his filmography right now, so it's on the list.
You can stop once you get to.
No, I'm a completist with directors. I'm like,
sure,
I'm gonna do it because I love the arc of it all. You know, it's just
can't wait for you to hit Ghost of Mars.
No, that's on the chopping block.
Yes, it is. Mouth of Madness does one thing almost perfectly, and it's the transition from the real world into the, like, horror world.
Oh yeah, where the lines on the road disappear and it's all black. Yeah, that's a perfectly explains that the world is
like
changing.
It's not in your face where you're like, oh, we're doing a hard switch, but it's just enough to make you, like, doubt yourself. It's perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
Like I've said, subtlety goes a long way. If they had established hard rules, you could make it more terrifying.
100%.
Yeah, because I think Stephen King defines that there's three kinds of horror. There's horror, which is things that are unknown that are freaking you out. Terror, which is an immediate reaction. And then gross out, which is like gross, disgusting stuff that makes you cringe. that's the three kinds of horror that exist.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break.
Okie dokie.
When we come back, we will have Micah's pitch, which he has promised a controversial third act to the film.
Yeah. I mean, I hope. I guess I might be talking myself up here too much.
I hope you know that this is a very tongue-in-cheek show, and
I do.
You have no expectations to land. I promise.
All your fans just attack me on Twitter. They're just like, "I hate you, and I hate that third act."
I mean, so far, I think Jesse's the only one that's gotten shit for his pitches on the show.
From the same person over and over again.
Uh-oh.
You upset one
I'm
guy
so sorry
with
you
4
didn't
followers.
like my Man of Steel pitch.
I love it. I can't wait for him to hear Batman v Superman.
Oh God, put that up as soon as possible.
I promise it is in the editing bay.
That's gonna be a good one.
Okay.
That is gonna be a good one.
6 hours.
Are you serious?
No, we're well. It's
Oh,
US.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well, okay. So the Patreon cut as of right now is like 445.
okay.
And then the actual episode that's going to go up, I think, is like 315 at the moment. I might be able to cut a little bit out, but honestly, we kind of stayed on task through the whole thing.
Wow.
I'm
Long episode.
I'm having a hard time finding stuff to pull out, to be honest, because like I'm obviously not trying to cut out Movie Bob, and then like everybody stays on task. I don't know. It's just a lot of content. It's a big movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Micah, let the
Twice the movie, twice the bullshit.
exactly. Micah, let the world know where they can find you and what you're up to.
Hey, I am a musician, indie rock, released an album called Imbalances, which is on Spotify and all the things that you listen to your music on. It's just,
is that under your name, or is there
yeah,
a
I was
band
about to
name?
say it's just Micah McCaw, which I'm assuming is going to be in the header of the episode or the description.
100%.
And then I have a podcast with my wife, which is the McCaw Podcast Universe, McCaw MCCAW, where we do film franchises. So if you like me on here, you'd probably like me on there. And then also, my wife has, this actually fits very thematically. She has a blog called Recount and Reveal, and she does spooky, weird, like folklores and legends, and talks about the history of them, but kind of personalizes them so they're more fun to read than a Wikipedia page. They're very cool. So,
I love that idea. That sounds like right up Devin's alley too.
Yeah, it's fun. And I think when is this episode coming out?
So this will likely be out on the 16th.
Okay.
If not the 21st.
Okay, yeah. So currently on our podcast, we are making our way through the Twilight Saga, which has been very fun in a weird way.
Oh no!
It's been hilarious. It's been very hilarious.
Yeah, we just talked about Breaking Dawn Part 1, and that movie kind of broke me. Not gonna lie,
It's one of the most disgusting movies I've ever seen in my life.
yeah. I had my big meltdown on Transformers 2, and I feel like I wasted it because Breaking Dawn really deserved it.
Well, we really...
And that's the reason I signed on to do that episode, because I was like, I got to hear Seth have a complete meltdown, and I didn't get it, and I'm very disappointed.
It frustrated the hell out of me.
I was able to postpone my meltdown until our Breaking Dawn 2 episode. That's when I had my true meltdown. So
yeah, I can't bring myself to even hate watch it.
What did you say? You cut out for a second.
I can't even bring myself to hate watch Part 2.
Just do it if someone makes you cover it. That's all you have to do. Just save it for that.
Listen, I try to be very nice to all my guests, but I swear to God, if any guest picks Part 2 just to spite me, that's... You're on your own, buddy. All right.
Block and delete.
Right. That's hilarious. I'm gonna go back and listen through those episodes just so I don't have to watch the movie, because hanging out with you two on your podcast sounds way more fun than actually watching Breaking Dawn Part 2.
They're very fun episodes. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So we will be back in a minute. I guess we're cutting to Michael Spielman for the what is this thing called? I forget. Mike's Film Whatever. There we go.
Mike's Film Whatever.
Mike's Film Whatever. We'll be right back.
Oh, man. Man, I was so pumped for Chapter 2. God. It needs to be saved. It needs to be saved. Wow. Anyway, welcome to Michael's Film Whatever. If you're scared of me, first off, that's not very wise, and I'll give you a couple pennies for it. So, I don't fucking know. I don't fucking care. I guess we're gonna probably review some Stephen King movies, I guess, today. Man, I don't know if I'll listen to this podcast. This one. Man, this movie pissed me off. Anyway, we're gonna start with The Mist with Thomas Jane. I have a note for the director and scriptwriter of this movie. Whose fucking idea was it? Okay, the original Mist, you did it right. You did pretty good up until that ending when you pointlessly killed his child, which everyone's like, "Oh no, it makes sense." What? Well, no, you didn't need to kill a child. Like, you could have had the two people that the child and him had to kill be there, and then before he kills the child, they knock on it, and then you still have the loss of innocence because the child just witnessed his dad having to murder two people. Could have done it better. Could have had a shot inside, and it would have been a way better movie. You killed a child for no reason, and that's not even in the fucking book. What the fuck is wrong with you? Everything up to that, and then it ruined that movie for me because I actually really liked that movie up until that point, and then you went completely off book in the worst way possible. It's like doing the Inferno from fucking Dan Brown. You fuck it up. Anyway, I still say it's a 6. That fucking end pissed me off. Are you fucking kidding me, you monster ass piece of shit? Let's talk about It Chapter 2. Man, this movie's fucking long, and a lot of it feels very flat and very needless and kind of pointless, and it misses its mark on what the story it's trying to tell. And I was bored, you know. I wasn't even scared with It Chapter 1. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's so creepy, I'm scared." I'm like, I wasn't scared at all. I saw that movie in theaters, and I wasn't scared. I wanted to see It Chapter 2 in theaters, but I never got time. But it's just too long, and, you know, I am glad this movie came out because now people understand what people who have watched Barry say about Bill Hader, and that is this motherfucker is one of the best actors out there, and you need to be watching all of his shit. Plain and simple. But this rescue is probably going to say everything that needs to be said about this fucking film and how it could have been better, but it's disappointing. It's a 4 out of 10 for me. Stephen King, I know you're probably upset with it because that book is so fucking good. You knew what this one was going to be. Michael's shitty film of the week is Dark Tower. They did worse than Aragon. They just combined books into one giant fucking film. And man, Idris Elba, super serious. McConaughey doing... Oh, man. I just watched The Gentleman, and McConaughey playing that evil kind of role fucking works for me, man. He just totally understands everything. He's very good at it, and I just want to keep watching it. But the rest of that film is fucking terrible. It's a 2. I hate everything about that movie sometimes. I give it a 2. I watched it in theaters, and I walked out going, what the fuck did I just watch? I kill with my heart. That's such a dumb line. Anyway, it's been Michael's Film Whatever. I'm tired. This quarantine's killing me. But anyway, a quick note. If you do have the ability to, please donate to CDC Foundation or to your local hospitals because they need the money. We need to fight this thing. And please stay at home and stay safe. Now go fuck yourself.
Welcome back to the show. We are talking with Micah about It Chapter 2. You can check out his podcast with his wife, the McCall Podcast Universe.
You got it.
Killed that one. Also, you can check out his new indie rock album, Imbalances.
Imbalances, yeah.
Imbalances. For fans of Young the Giant and Circus Survive, check out that album. It's good.
Well,
I listened to
you did?
a couple songs over the break. I did.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Hey, I'm into music too. If somebody says they have music out, I'm going to listen.
Cool.
We had Billy Mays III on recently, and he has some music that he's been putting out on his Patreon that is just fantastic.
Oh,
so
sweet.
I'm always excited to get some fellow musicians on here. Yeah, so you have a pitch for how to fix It Chapter 2.
I have the pitch, and I think I think this is the fix. So should I just jump right into it?
I mean, if you have a preamble, but I guess my main question is how much, if any, are you changing the first movie? Because I do like that movie.
I went with I'm fixing it chapter 2. I'm not fixing the first movie. The only thing, if I could change it, is just not have Henry Bowers fall down the well. Just have him get incapacitated another way, because then we don't have to deal with like a flashback of him going down the sewer and being like, okay, we get it. This guy looks like Henry. Okay. But we'll pretend that that's happened, because I'm just fixing this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so the opening of the movie, this is a scene from the book. We're in like the 1800s, and we're in this little town called Derry, Maine. And it's a logging town. And this man gets in a bar fight, and he's a logger, and he has an axe. And in a very graphic way, we're going to push the R. It's R. He just murders everyone in the bar. And it's very intense, very crazy. And then the camera just pans on down the street, and we just see a little tent set up, and outside it says Pennywise, the dancing clown. He's just down the street.
Interesting.
It's in the book. It's a very cool scene. And then the movie begins. So that's like your preamble, and you're in it now. I would be anyway. I actually thought they were going to start the movie with one of his like previous murders from a long time ago. And then we meet our cast of characters. They get the call, and I would like to spend a little more time with them at the beginning, because it just flashes so quickly in between all of them.
Sure.
And then Act 1 ends with Stan killing himself in a much more dramatic fashion. That's Act 1, and they're all headed to the Chinese restaurant.
Okay.
Should I keep going? Or do we want to talk
Absolutely.
about Act 1? Okay.
No, I mean, whatever you want. We can break down where you're at, or we can go scene by scene, or we can do the whole pitch and then wrap back around.
Okay.
Up to you.
I mean, it's fairly loose. I just have... Yeah, I'll be through the pitch very quickly, and then we can, I guess, get into the specifics. So then...
Sounds good.
Act 2, we start at the Chinese restaurant, and I like the idea of the adults maybe being tormented more psychologically, because in the movie, that scene where they open all their fortune cookies and they're moving them around, that part I was like, oh, this is pretty intense. We're in their brains. They're freaking out, which makes me want to freak out. But then this is when you stray from the book. Don't make the cookies come alive and stuff unless you're going to hire whoever did The Thing. The original The Thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And so...
Well, I think he's retired now, Rob Bottin. He's retired.
Well, then you skip it. And so we're more psychological horror during this movie, I think. And because, again, that scene was cool and scary until it became what the rest of the movie becomes. And then we go to Henry Bowers in the mental asylum. And this scene, there's no jump scares at all. This is a man quietly going mad. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
And it's not...
So he ends up in a mental institution?
Yeah, he does. He does. He's not presumed dead like he is in the movies. That's why the well scene was a little confusing, I thought.
Yeah.
But he's just gone kind of crazy, and he's in this mental asylum, and Pennywise appears to him through the moon, which is kind of cool. I like that they did the balloon in the movie. That's a cool idea.
Oh, that's right. That's in the original 1990s movie. That's right. I remember. Yeah, it's in the 90s movie.
So I like the idea of him quietly going insane, and I want it to just feel creepy. I don't want to be jump scared. And also, let's hire a new composer while we're at it.
Sure.
And then they have to still gather their mementos. And what I was thinking is that for this scene, it would be very difficult to do. You'd have to have a very, very smart writer. But I would like the 6 of them to experience getting their mementos told in an Inception-style way. You know how there's the 3 layers in Inception, and they're all happening at once, and you're flashing back and forth?
Okay.
I was thinking it'd be cool if somehow, and again, it'd be very hard to balance, but you're telling all 6 of them at the same time, and they all climax at the same time with their scare. And get their memento, and then meet up, and that's Act 2.
Okay.
So that's what I think on there. And then we do a nice fade to black, and we show the 1920s. And we have another great scene from the book where this gang of robbers goes into a bank and holds them up. It's like, Old West kind of thing. And the town gangs up on this gang and shoots them to pieces with bullets.
Wild.
And
Okay.
then as they do that, once again, the camera kind of pans to the side, and you see one of the people shooting the gun looks a whole heck of a lot like Bill Skarsgård, and he's got a big, big smile on his face.
Ooh.
That's pretty scary, I think. So you do that. Then you have, Bowers. Another thing that's kind of weird about the movie is they have Henry Bowers in it, but he doesn't really have anything to do because he doesn't really affect the plot in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the book, he debilitates Mike and puts him in the hospital. So something along those lines would be nice so that there's an actual payoff with him. I'm not entirely certain about that. And then we have the calm before the storm, everyone's getting ready. They go down into the sewers. And this is where I think it could be a little controversial, but I like this idea a lot. They begin the ritual of Chud, or Chud. I think in the movie they pronounce it Chud, though. And they're fighting it. They're doing their whole thing. It's very weird. And I'm trying to word this just right. And then they all... So this part would be very different from the book and the movie. But they all get captured in the deadlights. All of them.
Oh, okay.
And it's all very intense, very scary. And then we snap to... This is when we finally utilize the kid actors. And we show the kids out amongst Derry, hanging out as friends again. And then they start getting, tormented. And by the way, this is like a 3-minute scene, maybe. With the kids. It's not going to be long. They get captured, or they're in the deadlights, then it shows them as kids. That's like what they're seeing in the deadlights, and they're being tormented, maybe killed. And then this huge, big cosmic turtle, breaks through their memory, this deadlight that they're having, and he breaks them free of the deadlights and is able to kind of instruct them on how to defeat Pennywise. And so they are able to break out, and it's still hard to do the ending no matter how you cut it on how they actually defeat him. But I think if you just include that cosmic element of it and the turtle giving them this weird advice, and in the books it's a lot of them just conquering their fear, not just making him seem small. They're actually conquering their fear. So Bill keeps saying, what is it? He says he thrusts his fist against the post and still insists he sees the ghost, because that's a mantra to help people who have a stutter, or at least in the book it's presented that way. So maybe there's something along those lines that's a little more faithful, and then they're finally able to defeat Pennywise the dancing clown, and that's my pitch.
Interesting. Okay. I wanna go back through everything because this is a intensive plot. I think I might be alone in the fact that I think the finale of the TV movie is actually scarier than the one we got.
Okay.
In It Chapter 2. The reason being is in the TV movie it is a stop motion arachnid creature.
Oh yeah.
Giant spider.
Which, ostensibly is not very scary, but it works in context with the other effects of the film.
The idea in the book is that that's what they perceive it to be. It's Pennywise has no real physical form. Basically, if you want his physical form, it's those three lights. That's what he actually looks like, but in terms of, how they perceive it through their minds, it comes out as a giant spider. But at the end of this movie, we got a clown spider.
Yeah. And
it's a half and half, which is dumb.
We didn't discuss it. We kind of touched on it. We didn't discuss deeply. I think that's the cringiest part of the movie, when they're, beating him down with words.
Yeah.
It feels like the end of, an anti-bullying campaign or something.
Yeah.
I don't like that very much. I do like the idea of like Bill having to quote something from his like stutter therapy. That works for me. That's totally cool, especially if there's like previously we had set up, or like he says something like that before the Chinese dinner scene. He's like talking to Bill Hader, and he's like, yeah, when I was a kid, I had to do this like, you know, mantra to help get over my stutter, and that's why I don't talk like that anymore. You know what I mean? If you're gonna, you explain it away early, and then it comes back later as like an important thing. I do like that idea. I think what I'm trying to get to is like the finale. I guess I want to get the tone of the finale. That's really what I want, because what we got in the movie was like very like after school special.
Oh, you know what?
To me,
it just popped into my head. It's like I want to have the feeling that I felt at the ending of Annihilation, where it's a little open-ended and strange, and I'm seeing weird things, and I kind of get it, but maybe it's like, ooh, afterward I need to go get a beer with friends and discuss it. That's more what I was expecting and wanting.
Or maybe don't even have Pennywise get killed. Have it be like they put him down again for the next 27 years.
Sure, yeah.
And so, like, somebody has to stay in the town to, like, write down, like, the method of keeping Pennywise in containment. Right. Like, that would give a reason for Mike to stay in the town again.
I mean, I personally still want the defeat, but I do like what you're saying, and I get it.
I never really could buy the idea that ordinary humans could beat a god. That's the H.P. Lovecraft thing. Like, the humans don't win. Every story except for, like, one of them, the humans lose. No matter what it is. The humans always lose. You can't beat these things.
And you could even do something weird that to bring up Inception again, maybe you leave it kind of open-ended, so, like, the people who are positive thinking are like, oh, they defeated it, and the people who aren't are like, oh, they didn't. They did not do that. They did not succeed.
They're trapped in like a dream world or something like that.
So, you know, and this is just most of what I was focusing on were just the like wrongs with the movie, that if you follow those, the movie already goes up like, you know, like 20% for me. Absolutely. But this is like, this is you know, the severe rewrite where, you know, if I really wanted to do it, I'd have, you know, spend months and months and months on it. But that's it. That's the pitch.
I think my favorite part is the second act fix, which is you get the scares in, you know, the order where they need to happen, but then they all kind of like culminate together.
Yeah.
In that works for me. It's like I don't need 6 success scenes. I don't need 6 of them. Make them all one scene, cut between all 6 of them. Perfect. We get it. They all succeeded. We can go into act 3 now. I don't need 6 of them individually in order of appearance. Like,
well, it's also weird too, because it's really 12, because they also have the kids getting scared, which is so, I don't buy that they didn't show us that in the previous movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Totally.
Yeah.
A side question.
Yes.
What do you think is the best scare of this movie? And then of the 2, what's your favorite scare from either of them?
So my favorite scare, and I think the best is and I don't think you guys are gonna agree with this, but I do think the naked grandma attacking Beverly is pretty cool design, and since it's the first time it happens,
it's good. It's good until it turns into a CGI monster.
Yeah,
right.
And I like the thudding of the footsteps. So you're like, wait, whoa, this is a big thing. It's not. I thought it was just gonna be a little. You know, we've only seen little things up to that point, so it's just giant grandma. That was cool to me. As far as both movies, though, I know that when I was in the theaters for the first movie, I was so frightened by the scene where they're looking at the pictures and he comes out.
Oh, the projector scene.
Yeah, it was so outside of what I was expecting that I really jumped.
Yeah. Yeah, that one stands out to me. The other one that I think really worked well was the painting after I forget the character's name, his bar mitzvah when he's in the office.
Oh,
and
Stanley?
Yeah, Stanley in the
was it, what is it? It's not, was it a blind woman or something?
It's the stretched out screen lady.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
That whole scene, like, even in a vacuum, if I don't know the rest of the story, that scene works for me.
Yeah.
I just wish there was less music in the movie. I honestly think you don't even need a score for this film.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I really don't. It's like I remember watching, there's bits of Hereditary that have no score, and they're terrifying. Like the scene, like at the very end after Toni Collette has cut her head off with the piano wire, and her dead body floats into the treehouse. Like there's no music. It's just haunting seeing that dead body float through the sky. It's just
the music cuts in after he's been crowned, and then even the after the little girl. Spoilers for Hereditary. This is the big killer of the film. When the sister gets in the car accident, there's no score from the impact until the funeral. There's nothing. You have to just sit in depression with that character.
Yeah. You're just like, oh shit.
Yeah, I just remember seeing that in theaters, and like, you know, scary movies have an element where people are kind of like, oh, haha, you know, they're trying to prove to their girlfriends that they're not scared most of the time. And then when that happened, you could have heard a pin drop. And everyone was kind of quiet. And then the laughter started again, and it was very contrived, like, yeah, I'm not scared.
Devin and I walked out of the theater, I think in like actual, what's the term? I don't even know what I'd call it.
Shock?
It was shock. It was like,
in a daze.
Yeah. We had normally we walk out of a theater talking about the movie, and we like got to the lobby and was like, I have no words.
Yeah. That's on the too scary end for me. I avoided Midsommar because I could hardly handle Hereditary, and I'm like, I think this guy's a great artist. I'm out though.
No, you should definitely watch Midsommar. He doesn't do the middle of the movie thing to cut your knees out. He does it at the beginning and the end, and then everything else is just a trip.
I don't know if I'm gonna do it.
They set that guy on fire.
Yeah, very different film from Hereditary.
A horror movie that takes place in daylight. Right. It's shocking. Yeah. Like there's a prime example. Like another thing is that a lot of this film takes place in daylight.
That's true.
Yeah, but none of the scares are very scary. But look at Midsommar, all of it takes place in daylight.
And it's very scary.
It's very scary. It's like it's possible to do. It can be done. It's just you need to have the proper tone, and unfortunately, this movie doesn't know what kind of tone it wants.
I want to do a little exercise. So obviously, this comes from a book, but let's say that it has no like novel background, and we're just pitching a third act off the wall. Like we don't know where this story is supposed to end up. We're just running with a third act. I want to hear everybody's like off the cuff. This would be a really cool way to end this without any respect for the book. Let's just pretend the book doesn't exist.
I think if the book doesn't exist, I would probably go with the dour ending.
Okay.
Yeah. And I do, but I do like in the movie, that's for me the best scene is when he drugs James McAvoy. And it goes into the weird flashback. And so it would be cool, again, to be like cosmic and strange, and then end in a kind of obligatory, maybe dour ending. If there is no book, that's probably where I would want it to go.
How about you, Devin? Where would you take this if you didn't know it had to end in sewers?
Honestly, okay, so it would require a little bit of prep, but I think I would love to find out that this group of friends, okay, going back to the idea that they sacrifice kids to this thing every 27 years for their livelihood, that this group of friends was actually listed for that sacrifice but managed to survive, and now that they've come back, going with the drug thing, because I love the drug thing too, are being manipulated by Mike and drugged the whole time so that it can kill them this time.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a good one.
If you're no book, that's what I would want to have seen.
That double cross, especially with the actor's name, Isaiah Mustafa, is that right?
Yeah, I think
he could. I think he. What show was he on? Criminal Minds. I forget. Anyways, I think he could really play off the whole like you can trust me until the very end of the movie. That would be an actual betrayal to me, and I like that a lot.
That would maybe,
especially like
that maybe
that
would maybe fix his performance for me because he's so straight edged and not straight edged. That's the wrong word, but he just like he has nothing to him that's interesting, and the way he's acting.
Yeah. Well, the character didn't have anything to him in the first film.
Yeah,
like,
and he just has like a.
I also think he could have cut like one or two of these kids. He really could have. And just put their dialogue in another character.
Yeah, I don't disagree. At least three of the boys kind of like lumped together in my head as the same character at times.
Yeah.
No, I like that. That's a cool little twist. Micah, how do you feel about like the town being involved in the backstory here? Do you think that fleshes anything out?
Yeah. Again, if we're going no book, I think that's a pretty strange and cool way to play it, especially if they only hinted at it in the first movie, so that in the second movie it was kind of this mind-blowing, like, wait, what? I thought it was something completely different, and then you'd go back and watch the first movie and be like, oh, they were planting seeds this whole time.
Yeah, like, especially for his character, he's the only one that stays in Derry, then maybe he uncovers, like, what has been happening, and then gets inducted into it. Weirdly, I'm thinking of, Gravity Falls, and the, the cult of the eye or something, the people that erase minds to forget the things that are happening in Gravity Falls. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, where it's like, they're not evil, they're actually genuinely a little benevolent, but, like, they're not helpful, so they're something that has to be defeated.
Society of the Blind Eye.
Yeah, Society of the Blind Eye, there you go. If he was like that, where like he's doing this out of the goodness of his heart and doesn't recognize that, the I guess the evil that is happening because of it, it makes him a little more empathetic as a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if he sees like it's the cycle again. And he's like, well, kids are gonna die, or we could like default back to, the original group.
Right. Yeah, like they all got to live their lives and be successful. So like, the sacrifice isn't as much as it is for, like, asking a kid to die for Pennywise.
Yeah.
That's dark. That is very dark. No, I like that a lot. That's a cool little twist. Or a big twist, I guess, not even a little twist. Jesse, how about you? Is there anything you'd want to see, as...
That's kind of how I was leaning, which was the idea that the entire town is like a worship Pennywise. Like, Mike is sort of like a minion of Pennywise, and so you lean into the idea that it's like the Wicker Man, like the entire town gangs together to get these other 6 people as sacrifices to Pennywise, and the entire town worships him. That like, and having 6 people that defeated him once would give him enough power to like spread his influence out of Derry, and the movie would end with him venturing out of Derry.
Oh, that's very interesting.
That's like that cosmic horror of like Cthulhu rising from the ocean to destroy the world. If you want cosmic horror, that like you can't win. Yeah. You can't win.
Well,
There's
and
no way to win.
What I do like about that, though, even in the context of the book, is similar to the Shining adaptation. Like, I love the Shining movie and I love the book. They're so different. And I mean, if they had taken a risk like that, I would have probably liked it, even though it would have been not the same story. It would have been like, oh, that's really interesting, and now I can enjoy both things in different ways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mike Flanagan, I think, who directed Dr. Sleep, that was his whole big thing. Was like, I want to be true to the book as much as I can, but also I want to respect that the movie exists and is loved. Like, it's a beloved film.
Yeah.
And I think he did a really good job of like, hey, we're now in Act 3. I'm kind of in uncharted territory. I'm just going to do my own thing here, which marries the two together. How do you guys feel about that? And it's satisfying. It's very satisfying.
It overall works. Yeah, it's just I wish the movie was shorter.
Yeah,
it's
it is
movie.
long.
Jesus Christ, dude!
And
it's just too
you know
long.
what's funny is,
It's too long.
but I think one of my biggest complaints with that movie is that I just don't ever feel that like deep sadness in Ewan McGregor's eyes. I love Ewan McGregor, but I just feel like he just looks like he showed up on set to me for that movie, even though he's trying.
Interesting.
Yeah, you need an actor that has like a droopy appearance. Like if he wasn't dead, I would say Philip Seymour.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
That's why I'm so upset that that's not a movie.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's
Yeah.
Synecdoche.
Which that's been on my list forever.
Synecdoche, New York. Yeah, that's also a long movie, but it's worth it.
That's a movie that I highly recommend not watching another movie for like a week after you watch it.
Yeah,
You gotta think about it.
Like, I highly recommend just letting that one sit and marinate for a little while.
Well, then I'll wait till after quarantine.
Yeah. Not the time to binge the big thinker movies. James Ranson would probably do a pretty good job in Dr. Sleep, to be honest.
Actually, yeah.
He's kind of got that sadness in his face. He does that really well. So let me sum up the pitch then. You kind of clean up Act 1 to make sure that that's ending at the Chinese dinner, so that we're hitting that mark a little sooner. Following your rules, there's no cuts to the kids except for just before Act 3. And I agree with that. It's kind of like a little palate cleanse. It's kind of a little bit of like so we remember where we came from, and we want to give you a little more context, but not rewrite the last movie.
Yeah.
Act 2 is kind of Inception style. We're setting up a couple scares. We're running with that, but everything kind of culminates to their victories at the same time.
And mostly psychological. It's more in their heads than it is physical beings attacking them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the, it happens in movies sometimes, like the hard break from somebody having a freak out in their head to reality, where like no one else is reacting to what's happening. But in a freaky way where it's like, how did you not see this? Not like we got in the movie where it's like, you almost expect everyone to be reacting to it.
The sequels to the Nightmare on Elm Street films, they all do that. Like, no one else is reacting to all the crazy shit's happening around them. It's like, well, is it actually happening? By like the fourth or like the third or fourth movie, they kind of just break the rules and said, fuck it, Freddy's just going to kill people in crazy ways. They just kind of said,
so that's Act 2, and then...
Also, by the way, there's even a reference to Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 in the end of this movie. It's playing in the marquee in the theater. Like, oh great. 5 was the worst one.
Do you guys think that that's a cheat code for movies to have, like, if you're setting it in the past, to have a specific movie on the marquee to set the... Yeah.
That's a reference to, like, give you a grounding point?
Have you guys seen... Because I know you've had him on, but Patrick Willems' video about movies in movies.
Oh yeah, that's a great video.
Because that was such an interesting thing where he was arguing that because of what people view in movies, usually he was more referring to like made up movies within movies. It like says something about the world they're occupying.
Sure.
And so I think in this movie they could have had an opportunity to maybe do something like that, but I think it's more like you said, just brownie points to show like, because I think in the first movie it has like Empire Strikes Back playing, and you're like, these are movies that people like. You're like, okay, I get it.
I think,
or like in Stranger Things, you see a poster for The Thing, or you see a poster for Evil Dead in the background of one of the kids' rooms. It's like, we get it. We get it. But even though nobody had a poster of The Thing in the 1980s, because that movie failed so bad, it only got popular.
No, they were ahead of the curve. They loved all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's a cool character. Speaking of that video, which I do think he did due diligence on that, I'm a little sad he didn't bring up the Jack Black movie from The Office. I think it's season 4 or 5, I forget. Jim and Pam are arguing about Pam's parents' divorce. And they're arguing about it while watching a fictitious movie where Jack Black is like hooking up with a grandma.
Yeah, it's Jessica Alba's grandma.
That's right. It's Jessica Alba's grandma. And like literally there's a scene where she has one of those chairs that goes up the stair climber. She has a stair climber and like she's like, leave my life, and hits the button and slowly rides up the stair climber. And he's like, no, don't leave me.
Press the back button. Press the back button.
I love that fictitious movie. I wish it had been brought up in his video, because that's like, I want to watch the whole thing. Unironically, I would watch that entire Jack Black Gilf movie, whatever it was.
Well, and if you guys, I mean, do whatever you want, of course. But if you listen to our Twilight New Moon episode that came out last Friday, we actually, I talk about Patrick's video because in that movie they go see a movie and you can hear the dialogue and stuff. And I was thinking about it through the lens of Patrick Willem's video, and I thought to myself, it actually makes sense that these characters react this way if these are the movies that they're watching. It does not make a good movie, but I was like, this is kind of a hot take. I'm going to stand on this. I may be alone, but I will stand on Twilight sucks, but it is what it is, and it makes sense for what it is, even though it very much sucks.
So because they have bad movies in their universe, they react to drama poorly? Is that the idea?
Yeah, because in the movie, it's like an action guy saying like, I have a gun, and I'm going to shoot you, and then I'm going to shoot you, and then I'm going to shoot you, or something like that, and you just think, oh yeah, this makes sense. This universe makes senes.
Why does that just sound like a production in-joke? Like some editor
totally
was like,
is.
I'm going to shit on this movie while I'm making it. I got my paycheck already.
I'm reading way too much into it, but, you know, when you do an hour-long podcast on a movie, you gotta find some stuff.
Weirdly, I now want to watch Twilight New Moon.
I told you about it. You don't have to put yourself through that.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. Give it another 10 seconds to sit, and then you'll think, no, I'm over that.
I'll turn it on and then be like, you know what? I love Micah, but this is not going to happen. I'm not going to sit through to that point. Where does that land in the movie? Is it in the first 15? Because I can stomach that much.
Oh, I think it's like an hour and a half.
Oh, no. Nope, not worth it.
No, not worth it. Find a clip on YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you could do.
So overall, I mean, we have two versions of this show. One is the pitch is a hard left. You pitch like a whole new director, a whole new tone that really changes everything. Or there is sprinkle improvements, and here's where you do it. And that's what this episode is. And these end up being, to me, the more interesting one. I love the clickbaity, like, what if George Miller directed a Doom movie? Awesome. Yeah. Very fun. But stuff like this, where you take like little opportunities to improve your movie, i.e., your whole second act is a slog. Let's tighten it up. Now we have more room for other scares. You know what I mean? Like, we're not spending the time watching 6 successes after a scare scene. That is a tremendous improvement to me, especially because then that frees you up for like, you know, the Maturin turtle scene, and then that gives you time for explanations of Pennywise's powers and the stuff the movie really needs to operate.
Can we have Maturin like fly over the town of Majeri and like pick up all the kids and they fly off?
Like magic school bus style?
Honestly, when I first saw it, when I got to the end and I could tell they weren't going with the turtle, I was like, literally, if they just do anything with a giant turtle at this point, I will like this movie. That's all you need to give me. I just want to see the giant turtle.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because, like, I love... Maturin's kind of related to the idea of the world turtle and Turtles All the Way Down, which I think is...
That's what it is. That's what it is. That's the idea of like the connected universe of Stephen King. All these worlds are connected together. That's what the Dark Tower is.
It's based off of this this lesson from Socrates, where he has a student asking him, you know, what is the world and what's underneath of it. And apparently at the time they knew the world was round, but it was more like a visual kind of lesson. And he was like, well, there's a turtle underneath the turtle that holds the world. And then the student goes, well, what's under that? Yeah. And then Socrates goes, well, another turtle. And then what's under that? Another turtle. And then the line is, there's just turtles all the way down. It's infinity. It is incomprehensible. You'll never know it's at the base. And that, it's a cool thought lesson, but it's also fucking frightening if you really think about it.
It also brings the question of, okay, well, what's
yeah, exactly. It's like, are we underneath another world turtle? Who knows? The show Devs is really diving into that in the last episodes. I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody because I think the show is Alex Garland's 2001: A Space Odyssey. It is that good.
It's on my list. I'm going to get to it. Legion season 3 showed up on Hulu, and I was like, well, I gotta watch this now. Even though I've already seen it, I want to binge it all
exactly.
in one sitting.
They're really diving into like the box in the box in the box, and it's making for a very trippy plot. And I would love if a movie like this would go, yep, so there's space deities and, eternal turtles and clown gods, and you can't comprehend any of this, and it's a little fucked up, but you know what? If you just run away from the town, you might be fine. It is that Lovecraft. It's that unknown thing.
But if you end it with the idea that Pennywise leaves the town, therefore he can't escape.
Totally.
Yeah. Or I mean, you could even
leave?
You could even have him leave, and then he goes to like another one of those worlds if you wanted to go with that idea. Sure. And it's like they've vanquished him from this one, and now he's somewhere else.
Totally.
Because Pennywise, I think, is referenced in the Dark Tower books.
I think a little bit.
Yeah, he's in there somewhere. He's in there like an analog version.
Yeah, I know.
Multiple characters have multiple names in Stephen King's universe. Like Randall Flagg is also called Walter O'Dim, the Man in Black from the Dark Tower. It's the same guy.
You guys have not covered that movie, have you?
No.
And I would never put myself through that.
No, because basically the only way to fix it is just
I would not put myself through watching that again. But that's
just adapt the book and just be done with it.
I think that's my wife said this and I agree. It's just an unfilmable series, so just avoid it.
No, I wouldn't say it's unfilmable. You have to change a lot, but you could. It would be great for a TV series, not for a film.
Yeah, that's true.
It. Like, good luck adapting the drawing of the
gosh,
version. Yeah. That would be like a miserable experience.
It's one of those things that I think if you hand it off to somebody who's going to take it to uncharted waters, like the Dark Crystal Netflix series is a perfect example of like, really, this is not a movie. It's kind of unfilmable. And if you did it, it's going to be a dumb, schlocky action movie. So instead, they were like, nope, we're going to give this to a puppeteering team who knows how to do CGI, and they get 10 episodes on Netflix, and it's fantastic. Or you get the Dark Crystal, which is like, well, here's the 5 things about the book that we remember. Now make an action movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's not better. Sorry, I'm not invested. Half of it sounds like a kid's movie because the kid steps through a wall into another world. Like, this sounds like the setup for Harry Potter.
Yeah, like the way in which he gets there, he has to die. It's implied that Midworld is hell or the afterlife. It's implied, like worlds above worlds, worlds below worlds, like, and then of course Roland gets to the end of the Dark Tower series and realizes, oh no, I'm just in hell. He's been dead the entire time, and he just flashes back to the beginning, and then the ending is the same as the beginning. It's a loop in time.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Well, that's what they copy that Preacher. That's what Preacher is, the lifespan of the Saint of Killers in hell. He lives the same horrible event over and over again. That's can't change it.
That's a fantastic episode of television too.
Yeah, the show isn't that great, but the actual section of it is
for
great.
sure. Any other thoughts? We have a game we like to play for Patreon content that we'll jump to in a minute. But is there any it-related things that we want to hit before we get there?
I think I've exhausted my it.
Your pitch is fantastic. Regardless of how you end up, actually, maybe we'll throw this out to Twitter. Would you rather see a downer ending, a upper ending, or the ambiguous, maybe it got away from the town ending? Let us know where you land on that. I'll do a Twitter poll later. I like multiple endings. I like this, choose your own adventure kind of thing. It's very fun.
Pay your money to see what ending you want to get.
Did you want to see Palpatine come back in Rise of Skywalker? Or should Jar Jar Binks be the overall Sith? So we have a new game that we've been trying out, and it's been going well. It's a little fun. Basically, I use your birthday, eye color, and the percentage your phone is on, and use that information to build a movie that Micah will pitch to us in an elevator pitch.
Oh,
now,
wow. Okay.
if you're uncomfortable exposing your own birthday, I understand. We'll pick a celebrity and use their birthday instead.
No. Wait, okay, so I will tell you my birthday and my eye color.
Yeah, so I'm gonna read off the list. It's director, star, co-star, and genre are the 4 things we're gonna hit. So I'll ask you. I just like to do the setup in case somebody's like, nah, I don't want to expose my real birthday. I get that. I just I wanted that preamble. But so the first one's director, and this is based on the month you were born in.
Okay, December.
December, you get Martin Scorsese.
Oh, that's my guy.
Nice.
Your star will be picked by the date of your birthday.
22nd.
You get Jessica Chastain. Hey, on brand for this episode.
Okay.
All right.
Your co-star is based on the color of your eyes.
Hey, Jordan, am I blue or green? I can never remember. Blue eyes. Blue eyes.
Blue eyes.
They kind of change sometimes. I don't know. I don't know.
Your co-star is Kevin James.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
I mean, he had Ray Romano in The Irishman, so we'll see what he could do with Kevin James, another comedy guy.
Hey, we saw the Safdie brothers turn Adam Sandler into a legitimately amazing actor.
Yeah.
And then the last one is the genre, and this is picked by what % your phone is on right now.
Okay, let's see. 99.
This is a drama. A Martin Scorsese drama starring Jessica Chastain and co-starring Kevin James. Elevator pitch away.
Okay. So I'm just doing the pitch of this.
Totally.
Okay, so we got Scorsese. He's
you don't even have to hit 3 acts. Just be like, oh, I have a trailer in my head. This is what it is.
Okay, so we're gonna go, because he's got usually he's got like the maybe not satirical, that might be the wrong word, but like your Taxi Drivers, then he has like the faith dramas, then he's got the gangsters. And I'm going to go with this one's more in line with Wall Street, or not I mean the Wolf of Wall Street. It's in that vein. That world. Maybe this, you know what this is? Okay, this is Martin Scorsese directing a movie about Just something in the political landscape of Washington, D.C. Starring those 2 people.
Gotcha. So Jessica Chastain is playing what kind of character? What do you want to see her do?
I'm just trying to think of how those two act. I can't even picture them together.
No, I get it. Honestly, I'm kind of seeing him in like a villain role. If you're doing like a drama, he's the antagonist. Make him just do some despicable shit.
Of course, she was in that movie Miss Sloane, which I didn't see. So she's already been on Wall Street. Or I mean on DC. Mayor of New York. Kevin James, and she works with him, and it's loosely based on a true story, but it's really about the current state of politics, directed by Scorsese. That's my pitch.
So it's Scorsese's The Post.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm on board. I mean, I'm not saying I'd watch it, but I'd love to see it be made.
Yeah, I don't want it made.
Kevin James is the mayor of New York. That's pretty perfect casting, though. I'm not gonna lie. That's inspired.
Yeah, it's better than him playing the president in what was that horrible movie?
Jesus.
Pixels?
Oh, you know what?
God, one of the worst scam in the world.
I'll change it to because I just don't want to see Chastain as like a below Kevin James role or his wife. So they're actually running for mayor of New York, both of them. That's the movie.
Oh, okay.
That's what I would
makes
like,
more sense.
because I'm kind of tired of like, oh, I'm the female secretary and I don't have a character at all.
Yeah.
But I'm supposed to because I'm second build, and you're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, no, I like that. I can already see the scenes of like him just like fucking with her campaign, just maniacally. Yeah, I'm on board. This is fantastic.
And
this
then at
game,
the end, she realizes she has to get down in the dirt too.
Yeah. Oh,
it's like morally ambiguous.
Oh yeah. They're both very great characters by the end.
Yeah.
I love this game. You never know where it's going to go.
That's funny. I like that.
We got Taika Waititi like 2 weeks in a row, and then from there it's been like M. Night Shyamalan and Scorsese, and Awkwafina and Sam Rockwell. It's different every time. It's so much fun.
That is great.
Thank you for playing along. That's Patreon only content. This is why you pay $1 a month for Montressor Media Patreon content.
There you go.
This feels like a natural stopping point. Let the people know, Micah, what you're up to in the world.
Well, once again, got a new album called Imbalances. It's My Name is what the artist is under. Perfect. Got my podcast with my wife, the Macabre Podcast Universe, and then she has a blog, Recount and Reveal, about spooky. They're in the gray line of are they real or not real, you know?
Yeah.
Depending on where you fall on it when you read it. So,
what are some of the recent ones that she's done? I'm interested.
There was one, actually, she just did one that's about this little island off the coast of Venice that. Oh, that one's on a different website because someone else premiered it.
Oh, okay.
What was it called? The GhostTownTravels.com was that one, and it's about this place in Italy where they put like quarantined people a long time ago.
Is that where the Ghost Adventures guys went there one night?
I believe they did. Yeah, she was citing that in it.
They had like the plague masks, right?
I mean, I haven't seen it. I just read her post.
Okay,
it was like a week ago. So, but and then one of my favorites on her website is about Domovoys, which are these creatures that like watch houses. They're like these spiritual creatures that, I mean, mythically, if you are like treating your house poorly, they will kind of terrorize you. But if not, they just make sure that it's all in good order. It was very weird because it thread that line of like, yeah, I think I'm gonna believe in that. That's cool.
I like that. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Interesting. I love it. Awesome. Yeah, so check out everything Micah and his wife are doing. Also, open invitation for Jordan to come on the show, too, if she ever wants to fix a movie, or if you guys want to pair up and fix a movie, please come
that would
back.
be fun, yeah.
We had a great time.
Yeah, that was thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad you had a good time. We're all kind of stuck inside and doing this over Discord now, so this is where I'll plug our Discord. Hey, we've got a lively Discord going on. The link is in every episode of the show. If you look at the description for the show regardless of where, the Discord link is linked there. We have a chat that goes late into the night talking about anything. I couldn't even sum up what the last 72 hours of the Discord have been lately. Final Fantasy VII, I guess.
It's been absolutely heinous.
It's a mess. It's a glorious mess. So you can come hang out with us anytime in the Discord chat. Jump on the voice channel anytime we tweet that we're going live with the episode. Yeah, that's all I want to pitch. Jesse, Devin, thanks for jumping on and hosting with me.
Yes.
And then Micah.
It was a thing.
Micah, thanks for being a guest.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It was so fun. So fun.
Good. I'm glad you had a good time. That's all that matters to me is the guest has a good time. That's going to do it for the Film Master Show. Thank you for listening, and good night.